right. Welcome to episode 143 of the MTB podcast, presented and hosted by Worldwide Cyclery. I am Jeff.
I'm Liam.
And I'm Trevor.
And in this episode, unfortunately, you don't hear Jared's olive oil voice because he is probably drinking olive oil on his honeymoon right now.
He probably is.
People drink olive oil? People drink
olive
oil,
might.
right? He's probably the guy who drinks olive oil.
Probably does, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jared just got married.
Yeah, that's why he's on a honeymoon.
Pretty cool.
That's usually... Yeah.
Pretty cool. That's Trevor's quote. You got married? Oh, pretty cool. Walks away. Oh, man. In this episode, we discuss how I somehow survived a 6-day-long adventure race, the new Fox Float X and DHX Neo shocks, Liam and Trevor's Whistler bike park trip, and of course, listener questions ranging from the strongest wheel for downhill riding, should you upgrade your older fork damper, boxers, briefs, or commando, and everything in between.
Interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff. Very interesting
Let's
stuff.
get into it.
Let's hit Zach's words of wisdom, which I heard him authentically say today. He didn't even Google it or make anything.
He might have Googled it, but...
I think it was just in his head, though.
It might have been. You don't actually know.
Nothing's original, right?
Nothing is original.
Everything's already been said once, but what did he say?
Hard work beats talent, but it sure is nice to have talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just genuinely believes that. And it's kind of true, too.
Yeah. Just kind of pulled it off the cuff today.
But if you can have talent and hard work, then you're going to succeed in life.
Wow.
For sure.
Easier than people without talent or without hard work.
Yeah.
Not as incredible, but also cool, is Daniel's fun fact. This one was definitely Googled.
This was definitely Googled.
I don't think he would. Go ahead and read that one, Trevor. What is it?
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, uses every letter in the English alphabet.
Wow. That's straight. Just reminds me of the Owen Wilson thing.
Oh,
where
yeah.
Just like you hear something like that and you're like, wow.
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 Well, that's enough for some random facts from Zach and Daniel, or words of wisdom, rather. Now, let's talk about my new ASR. Did I already talk about my ASR? I don't think we did. I think we
You actually haven't been on podcast
I haven't been
for
on
a
the
while.
podcast in a long time.
Yeah, how's it feel to be back?
It feels great.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I figured you would
I'm
say
glad you're
something
alive.
rude. Yeah, thanks, Trevor. I'm glad I'm alive, too.
Why would I say something rude?
I don't know, man. You should never know. Never know with you.
You gotta keep it PG-13 on this guy, you know?
Right. This is a PG-13 podcast for everyone listening, by the way. If you didn't already know that, you can listen to this with your kids because we always keep it PG-13. Occasionally, we have a guest on here, like Wade Simmons, who
Cannot help but
speak like a sailor, and then we just have to add a bunch of bleeps. But most of the time, there's no bleeps. There might be the occasional innuendo, which is what makes it PG-13, not PG, right?
Yeah, and every once in a while,
so.
one of us will like slip one out, but that's how she goes, you know?
Yeah, for the most part,
We're not
this
perfect.
is a PG-13 podcast.
We aim to be PG-13 every episode.
I honestly think that is helpful because people do want to listen to mountain bike podcasts, and there's kids around. So
Yeah.
Was your adventure race PG-13?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part. I mean, adventure racing, when you hit the transitions and you change from one sport to the next, there's often some like nudity in public parks and things like that because people are just in a mess of like racing and
Mindset.
and mindset. So maybe that part wasn't PG-13, but for the most part, it was PG-13. It was good outdoor fun. It was a 6-day long race that consisted of a bunch of mountain biking, a bunch of trail running, all orienteering, so all map and compass navigation, no GPS allowed. We did some rock climbing. We did a huge slab climb, which was pretty rad, and a ton of whitewater paddling in pack rafts. It was
When you
wild.
get to the rock climbs or the slab climbs, you said you were roped in for some of them?
Yeah, I mean,
Are
the
there
rock climbs
guides
for
there?
sure. The rock climbs were 510s.
Yeah.
And then the
Are there
slab...
guides or no guides?
Yeah, there's like a safety guy at the
Safety guy,
bottom.
yeah.
So it's funny you ask because actually, so the slab climb, which was like 5 days into the race, the slab climb so the race is obviously running nonstop for 144 hours. We got to the slab climb at 4:15 a.m. and we were wrecked. We were like 5 days into this race. We'd barely slept, and they did a cognitive test.
Yeah.
And so you had, the way they did it was they go around your team of 4 and you have to go down by 7. So first person says, okay, what's 100 minus 7? 93. And then like you go around the team, and I failed.
Yeah, I feel like most people would fail that.
Dude, I think most teams failed,
Yeah.
But,
but
like,
the
not-
leading team failed like three times.
I mean, I don't even know if I could do that after a 6-hour ride. You
Or
know
just,
what I mean?
Or just
Like,
right now.
I mean, I could probably do it right now, but
You could take your time, like
Yeah.
you can count on your fingers, so like you can be patient
That,
with it.
that would
but-
help a lot.
Yeah,
yeah, even like I, change the subject, but I did a 6-hour ride this weekend, and I was toast after. I don't think
Yeah.
I was subtracting 7 from anything.
yeah. The idea, which is good, because the concept is basically being able to break down a problem like that into 4s and 3s, and just thinking in a way that solves a problem. And your brain is not good at doing such thinking when you're completely sleep deprived. So if you fail, essentially the first time you fail, your team has to take a 5-minute nap before you can test again. And then if you fail a second time, it's a 10-minute nap, and third time, 20-minute nap. So I think a ton of teams failed. I know the leading team failed 3 times.
Jeez.
Because they're probably just wrecked. They're just going so hard. They just couldn't think straight. But yeah, it is tough. When you're that sleep deprived, that is the exact kind of thing that your brain just doesn't work well on. So
Yeah, before you left for your trip, you sent me your itinerary, and
Yeah.
I was pretty astonished with how extreme some of the segments were. Like your first event was just like, was it a 100-mile mountain bike ride?
yeah.
And then straight into what? What was after that?
Let me bring up the
Because
race
I
schematic.
feel like you're kind of
and
sugarcoating this a little bit. You're making it sound super fun and easy, and even your first day, I think most people would not even be able to complete the first day, let alone a week of stuff like
Well,
this.
Jeff has been back at the shop for a full week, and he's still,
I'm still a bit of a
He's
mess.
delirious.
yeah, moping around. I think his brain's back now.
Yeah,
He's still slow. He has weird recovery issues. I haven't seen you nap yesterday or today, but last week I think you napped every day.
Yeah, I did. In hindsight, so essentially what happened that race, it's 144 hours, and we slept a total of 8 hours. So 8 hours total over 6 days. And that wasn't intentional. We learned a lot. What we learned is we definitely should have slept at least 2 hours per night, because everyone's kind of useless between basically 4 a.m. and sunrise. Like, you just can't think straight. And even if a couple people on the team are still somewhat coherent, and they kind of pull the rest of the team through, it's like you're never going to work together as a team if 1 or 2 people are somewhat coherent, and usually no one's coherent until sunrise comes again. So we should have slept more. It's just hard. Like, when you get out there, you have all these cutoffs during the race. So the way these races are designed, this one, the race director specifically said he thought only 30% of teams would complete the course. So in adventure racing, you're orienteering from checkpoint to checkpoint, all map and compass, and what happens is you have different cutoffs that you have to make at the transition areas, and you have to figure out as a team your pace, and you have to understand your pace and say, are we going fast enough to get all the checkpoints? So getting all the checkpoints and finishing in the time limit, it's called cleaning the course. So he estimated 30% of people would clean the course. Everyone's going to finish in time, but they're just not going to clean it. They're not going to get all the checkpoints. And checkpoints are worth more than time. So if you roll in on the last minute, which we basically did, but we had all the checkpoints, we went into 11th place out of 30. But a lot of teams finished ahead of us, but we got all the checkpoints because we were the last full course team, the last team to clean the course. And, of course we, would have been nice to sleep more or whatever, but we're like on the edge of we're good enough that we could barely clean the course and be in that, sort of elite ranking of the 30% of teams that did, but we're not good enough to do it smoothly.
yeah.
Or
we did
compete for time.
Yeah, or compete for time. Yeah, we just barely cleaned the course. And it was rough. Like we were doing well, and we made one big navigation error, and it cost us like 6 hours, and we thought we'd totally thrown in the towel and like ruined our chances, and we're going to miss the next cutoff. And then it turned out we got to the TA and we didn't miss it, but it's like, well, now you're so close, you basically can only sleep for 15 minutes, and we wanted to sleep for like 2 hours. And so stuff like that happens.
That's insane.
So the race ended up being 365 miles, 40,000 feet of elevation, and that's split between all the different sports. But yeah, the very first leg, like you're talking about, the race started at 5:30 p.m., and it went straight into a 90-mile mountain bike ride, which went to basically sunrise the next day. And then that transition was setting up, you got to your paddle bags of the transition, you set up your pack rafts, you disassembled, you put your bikes on the pack raft, and then you paddled the Columbia River Gorge for, I don't know, it was like 15 miles. And the last 5 of it was in just this ripping headwind. And adventure racing is just brutal. The sport's just kind of designed to be miserable and like no one succeed at it. I don't know. It's just part of the game.
So you built your ASR around kind of the adventure race, I guess.
Yeah.
If people want to check it out, you just made a video on it on the worldwide channel. But
Yep.
Was that successful? Like, did everything go well with that? Like, do you have any mechanicals out there or anything go wrong or right?
Luckily, no mechanicals on the bikes. We had a co-ed team. You have to have a co-ed team in adventure racing to compete. And the female on our team, Natalie, she was awesome, but she took a pretty gnarly crash on the mountain bike ride at like 4 a.m, ripping through single track with lights on. Gee. What a surprise.
Yep.
But her bike didn't break. She bonked her head a little bit, slowed us down for about half an hour. But she, toughed it out and everything. But that was like the only bike incident we had. Otherwise, everything was pretty rock solid. So
you guys are probably like more expert mountain bikers than probably a lot of those guys, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I think we definitely have an advantage on the bike side, which was good. And then not like we have a disadvantage on the paddling side. Like none of us are good paddlers for sure. But yeah, bikes worked well. That ASR, I mean, I kind of built it knowing I was going to use it for this race specifically. Yeah, like you said, made the YouTube video about it. And man, I was just inspired by Liam's ASR that he built. And all the rides you were doing on yours, and they did Downeyville, and I was like, man, I really want one of those bikes. They're just like so fast and light, and yeah, I loved that thing. So I was stoked. I was like really happy with that bike, and our whole team had no bike issues, and all bikes worked well. So that was, I'm very grateful for that.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, you're totally sleep deprived, dumb exhausted, and you just want to just kind of give up. And let's say you get like a flat tire.
Oh yeah.
Like your motivation would just be so low to fix that, or to even fix any kind of mechanical out there would be kind of a nightmare, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even like think about that. Honestly, the biggest problem with the bikes was the last couple days of the race. We had some pretty long fire road descents, and everyone just kept falling asleep, which is like just not safe, right? That's
just unreal to me.
I was trying to sing as loud as I could Bohemian Rhapsody, just stay awake.
Yeah.
Because I just kept falling asleep.
Wow.
And I was like, God, this is so dangerous.
Built different.
That's just like part of that game.
Yeah.
So, man, it was crazy. It was such a fun time. I had a really good race. I enjoyed myself. You go through so many trials and tribulations in a race that long. Every team has something go wrong. But it is just the craziest sport. Like, it's crazy that people participate in it and like it. And I think I had a good race this time because my expectations were right. My gear was dialed, training was pretty dialed, and I just kind of, like, my expectations of how miserable and disastrous this was going to be were just right, because, like, I've done these now, so, like, I just know coming into them, like, oh, we're going to paddle in a headwind, yeah, of course, like, oh, we're going to go all through the night and be sleep deprived, oh, we're going to do some stuff that we're going to be, cursing the race director's name, like, why would you send us up this hill at this time, or, like, it's just part of the sport. So I think expectations coming into any, like, big event like that sets you up right, so... Yeah, it was good. But man, what an incredible experience. And yeah, stoked to have the bike work out well. And yeah, it was a freaking good race. It's called America's Toughest Race. So
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Are you past the point of not wanting to do it anymore? And have you signed up for another one?
You know what's funny is coming into it and like leading up to this race, I was like, man, I don't know if I ever want to do this again, because like I'm just burned out on adventure racing. I actually had so much fun doing this race. It like reignited me to want to do more of these.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I was kind of surprised. I actually had so much fun. I was like, I kind of want to, like, it is so hard on the body. The preparation's insane. How hard it is on your body during the race and then post-race recovery, which I'm still struggling through right now. I'm wearing glasses if you're watching this on YouTube, because I can't really wear my contacts because my eyelids are all swollen with like internal styes. Just like weird problems that pop up when you don't shower for 6 days and don't go in any shelter. But I don't know. I kind of wanted to do these races again. And I was like, man, these are just actually really fun. Especially once you have like all the gear and like we've gotten better at it over the years of doing it, like better at transitions and better at just the sport in general. And, we're actually like decent at it. Like we're good enough to do the full course. So I don't know. It's pretty fun. I actually enjoyed myself. So I was motivated to do more, surprisingly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's refreshing to hear.
Good
actually.
on you.
Yeah.
It's like your mental attitude is like so important and stuff like that.
Yeah, it really is.
To have your attitude still be good after kind of pushing yourself to the absolute limit is, I think, commendable.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Even on like normal rides, people are like, oh, like over 4 hours is gnarly. I'm like, after 4 hours, it's just all mental.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure
it's
that
true.
it's just like the days just go on and it just becomes more. Obviously, your body's going to break down. Everyone's going to feel bad. It's just like, how well can you put up with that and mentally like push yourself and like have good, vibes during it when stuff doesn't go right.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a mental challenge of staying positive. Like, can you keep your mindset in the right spot to make sure you stay positive to where things get really hard, you don't become demoralized, but you rather become motivated and ambitious, and you kind of laugh at how hard they are. And you're like, oh, this is actually so miserable that it's funny, and I want to keep going because of it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to stay in that mentality. And then when you feel just bonked and dead and sleep deprived, you have to trust in your body's ability to recover. You're like, okay, if I just like lower the heart rate, stay in zone 1 and zone 2 for a few hours, take some more deep breaths, like take a 5-minute nap, like I will recover and I'll feel good, or I'll feel good once the sun comes up, or I'll feel good if I just calm down for a few hours. Like you just have to trust in all that. And that just takes
calm
time
down for
experience.
a few hours, not a few minutes.
Yeah.
A few hours.
That's so
It's just
type,
race.
different.
it's so
different.
type,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
different
type
thought.
2, like
Type
Yeah.
3.
type
Yeah,
3,
I
type
know.
That's
4.
pushing
Yeah.
type 3.
Yeah.
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 But like, I guess you do something so hard that it makes everything else everything is kind of easy. Nothing's ever going to be that physically or mentally demanding for you, probably.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the point, right? Like, I think the point of doing these like crazy ultra endurance events or any type of something that really pushes you to the limit physically and mentally is to see just what you can do and experience that. And it makes the rest of life feel very, very like tameable. Like, oh, I can really get through the rest of life. Like,
It makes what, maybe the normal person might freak out over, like, yeah, that's nothing. It's all good. It's
yeah,
going to work out.
Yeah. It really just
not a
helps
big
your
deal.
perspective on life in general. Yeah, and what you can do to manage through things. But yeah, it was an amazing time. I really enjoyed it. I kind of think other people should try adventure racing because I just think like it's an interesting sport to like push your body and see what you can do. And I think as far as like, I think mountain bikers should look into it because that's one of the harder things about it. A lot of people, because you have to know how to do all this stuff, but mountain biking is a huge aspect of it.
Yeah.
And
It's a
it's one
bigger
of the things
learning
people
curve,
are not
right?
the best at, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big learning curve in terms of gear and equipment and being able to ride at night and ride that long of distances and ride sleep deprived.
Yeah.
But if you already know how to mountain bike well, it's definitely like you can learn how to paddle and you can learn how to climb and you can learn how to trail run and stuff like that. So yeah, when are you guys going to do one?
When you sign us up.
Yeah. when I'm forced to.
Yeah.
Just like we've been running a little bit lately and like
a little bit.
a little bit.
A
Yeah,
little
you guys
bit.
doing
It's
the
just
weekly run club.
weekly
Yeah.
run club, and it's just a bit forced, and it's good for you, and change it up a little bit, and change up the cardio system a little bit too, and yeah, it's not super fun, but we're doing it, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we're secretly getting ready for an adventure race.
Yeah.
Perfect. You guys got to run on the trails, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're
Well,
doing like the social thing. And
I run on trails. If I run
Yeah.
outside of this, I run trail only.
yeah,
Yeah.
so many nice trails to run out here. Yeah. But glad to see you guys doing something other than just riding bikes. You don't want to end up like that meme, where it's like I got into cycling and then it's like 6 months later and the guy's like super scrawny and has no muscles.
Well, we work out to prevent that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, while I was doing that adventure race, you guys are doing something quite the opposite. Straight hedonism up there in Whistler, just shredding bike park laps.
Yeah. Got in 3 full big days at Whistler Bike Park last week. And yeah, our hands were pretty toast. Jeff, it was gnarly.
I was actually thinking about you the whole time.
Yeah, we were.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause we were just taking the chairlift up every single time and
Yeah.
just like floating over jumps and throwing whips and stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, super
And
fun.
in the bottom, we'd be like, oh, I can't even pull my hand off the bar. and we're just like, Jeff's like dying currently. Like, we don't know where he's at. Like, he could be, in it, having an issue, and we're just like ripping bike park lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took my SB 140 there, and Liam took his Rail 29, and it was just enough to work. It was manageable, and we were pretty much just riding A-line and Dirt Merchants, like the best two best jump trails in the world. Just
Yeah, they really
lap
are.
after lap after lap. Like,
Yeah.
well, should we do it again? Like, yes.
I think on day 2, we did 18 laps, and I'm going to say 16 of them were probably between A-line Dirt Merchant.
Yeah,
We had like one
That's the way to
warm up.
do it.
We did like one tech trail.
yeah,
Then we went up to the top once, and like We rode, Schlayer, Lower Canadian Open or something like that. Like everything else was A-line dirt merchant.
Yeah, my forums got completely destroyed.
Oh,
like to the point where they were inflamed and like tender to the touch.
Yeah.
And we got back to our condo that we were staying at, and I was bonked.
Yeah.
I had to put my hands up on the bed just to drain them a little bit because they were so destroyed. I was pretty shocked that happened.
You could still see.
Yeah, William had his watch rub his wrist raw.
Oh, dude, that literally happened to me last time I went to Whistler.
Yeah.
Yeah, just from all the braking bumps and holding on. Yeah.
It'd be cool to be up there for a while, so once your hands got used to it and your forearms get used to it and your body, just the brake bumps were so
if we
abusive.
did like 2 days and then done like 2 days off and then got like 2 more days in.
Or maybe done like a trail ride or something instead of bike park.
By day 3, like we could barely hang on.
Yep. I remember that feeling.
And you're like, the difference is, it's kind of all these things combined. Like, one, there's big holes this time of year on A-line dirt merchant. Like some of the holes we were trying to avoid were like 29-inch wheel eating big.
Yeah.
Just massive. And then it's super hard packed. So that has a big part of it, right? It's not like a fluffy trail. It's like really hard packed fast. And then you doing it so much, every single bump and every single jump and stuff. So then you're trying to go faster and faster. So you're like, doing 30 miles an hour through these berms, hitting these holes. You don't really do that anywhere else.
Okay.
Nowhere else are you doing 30, hitting jumps and berms, and also riding through basically curbs.
Yeah.
Going that fast.
The only place you do that is a motocross track.
That's
on a motocross bike.
Even
that's
then,
the only way to train for it.
I've talked to other people, and they're like,
it's not as harsh of a bump though.
It's definitely not as harsh.
Like there's so much suspension on a dirt bike that it kind of just like soaks it up a little bit better, but on a little trail bike at Whistler, it's like you feel every bump.
So you were on your Yeti SB140 with a 160 fork?
160 fork. I had the EXT suspension on it, so I had a coil shock and then the 160 EXT fork as well, and then some Michelin like enduro casing tires, and had no issues. I broke one spoke while we were there, and that was it. Everything was pretty solid, no crashes or anything.
Yeah,
almost had a crash on my very first lap. We were riding,
like crank it up
and
warm up.
Little warm up trail.
I was like getting bored, and I hit a little side hit. It was raining. I hit a little side hit, and there was roots, and my rear tire just left the chat. And, and Liam was right behind me, and he's like, "Whoa!"
Trevor just like shot from the right side of the trail directly across the left side of the trail.
And didn't really have any moments after that, so that was cool.
Yeah,
but it's definitely something to get. You got to warm up properly for that.
That's so funny because I always think that's a great trail to warm up on. And like, if you're tired, just go ride that trail. But it is kind of dangerous because you get lazy and like you either like try and mess around too much and go off the side of the trail, or you just kind of like get lazy. And then the next thing you know, you're like not paying attention and you like buck yourself or something.
Yeah. Last time I was there, we had my roommate had all of our sisters there, and they're like, they ride basically like crank it up, see more butts most of the day. So we're doing a couple end of the day laps with them, but all of us, we're like insiding each other and trying to take each other out and stuff. And like 3 people crashed.
Yeah, that gets super dangerous.
like and we might have had a beer in the village and then went up for like 2 more laps and everyone crashed.
Yeah.
Would you go back with the enduro bikes again, or would you rather build a downhill bike or rent a downhill bike? Because a lot of people ask that. A lot of people don't even have like an enduro bike; they have like a trail bike. Yeah, and then it's like, well, should I just because you can rent nice downhill bikes.
You definitely can. I mean, I'm jaded and bougie and don't want to rent a bike.
Yeah,
but I think the enduro bike's pretty much fine. I had a 38 170 on the front, double downhill casing tires. I'd say that's fine, and especially for most people. But if you were to build a perfect park bike, it would be like a 180 rear travel with a dual crown. I think that'd be the best, because I have ridden a full downhill race bike there at Crestline, and it's too much, in my opinion, unless you're full charging tech trails
really
the whole time.
Your speed.
Like on the jump trails, it's really hard to maintain speed and like hold the momentum.
I actually preferred having my bike for the jump lines and stuff, and the flow trails and tight turns and stuff like that. And we weren't really riding a ton of tech trails anyway, because a lot of the times it was just too wet and the rocks were slippery and the roots were slippery, and we just don't really ride that enough to be comfortable on it. And to have, if you had a downhill bike there, you could really charge those like double black kind of tech trails, but we were not charging those at all. We were kind of just making it through them. And I think if you had a downhill bike on like A-line and stuff, yeah, sure, it'd be fun. You can kind of land flat and stuff, and maybe would be better on the brake bumps. But I like to be able to pump and scrub and all that stuff. So that was cool.
I'd like to go back and do Whistler and only spend like 1 day in the park and like 3 days trail riding.
Yeah.
There's so much more trail riding that I think I haven't done and I've been missing out on.
It's the mecca of mountain biking up
it's
there.
Insane. And then Squamish has 4 zones, and then North Shore has 4 zones, and then there's all of Vancouver Island. That's just a whole nother world. And it's like,
it's a little overwhelming.
The best place for a mountain bike trip destination.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a blast.
Would you ever go there and lock out your rear shock with the new Fox Live Valve Neo wireless rear shocks?
I mean, if you're doing pedal laps in Squamish, it could probably come in handy. Like,
yeah, I'd love to try it personally.
Yeah, Trevor wants one.
Just to see.
Did you ride it yet?
None of us have ridden it.
It's just like what the classic Fox announcement, like, hey, we have these 2 new rear shocks that have brake sensors that like automatically lock out.
Yes.
You adjust it during the app. Give us the rundown.
So yeah, Fox just came out with their updated live valve using Neo, which is their kind of battery and connection technology, and it translates the connection super fast. So
yeah, it's fully wireless system.
Fully wireless, so. Yeah, that's the kind of the big one for sure. But yeah, there's 2 brake sensors, front and rear, and the front brake sensor measures like bump force. And also pitch of your bike, and the rear just measures the pitch of your bike. So it kind of locks and unlocks your shock based off of the bump force and the pitch. But basically, it can open and close so fast, and there's only an open and close mode that when your fork hits a bump, it automatically opening the rear shock for that bump before it even hits it. So pretty cool.
They say it's millisecond fast, like 100 times faster than Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And it was,
Fox claims.
The sensors, they say, are reading 400 times a second, and it can open and close the valve at 1/70th a second. So however fast that means, very fast. If you click a Neo transfer post and you really trigger finger it's very fast. So I'd imagine if a computer can do it, it can go even faster than that. But I'm excited about it because it was developed with a gravity kind of orientation or gravity focus under like Richie and Asa and a couple other riders that have been winning on it. So that's pretty cool. And
winning enduro races.
And
downhill.
And World Cup, World Champs.
Yeah. Nico and Asa have been running it for 2 years now on their bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So battery in each.
Technically, I did ride it. I did 1 lap on it last year in complete prototype mode.
Yeah.
But
well, once we have a more production-worthy test, we can let people know how it works.
But it's coming out on right now, at least for Float X's and DHX coils. So yeah, gravity-oriented trail bike enduro style riding or downhill with the DHX a little bit, and that's just pretty cool. I just like how it's just that. So it's just the 2 brake sensors and the actual shock. It's like completely different than Flight Attendant.
Yeah,
because it's not a whole entire system. So it's more simple in that regard, and it's always going to be kind of working in that gravity kind of sense. I feel like the Flight Attendant's more suited towards the XC style of things, even though they first started with like the Zebs and stuff. But I think that it makes the Flight Attendant makes more sense for XC, like how you had your ASR setup just makes a ton of sense. But the last thing you want is your fork to be locked out when you hit a bump, right? Like you don't want that. So the fork's always going to be open and supple, and your shock's going to be reacting to what your fork's hitting. So it's a lot of cool claims, and I want to like test it in real life to see how it is. But
definitely.
Yeah. I think it's definitely trail bike focused. The way it doesn't do anything to your fork. Fork's always open. It basically just locks out your rear when you're riding smooth terrain or flat, and then it reads senses, and then it's easier to get into the system than Flight Attendant.
Yeah.
So
I wonder how. I guess my only thought is like, imagine Whistler's a perfect example, like big, long, smooth lips. Like you wouldn't want your rear shock to just like lock out as you're like entering that.
Yeah, but you'd have to see. There is
I guess you just get used to it, and then
there's
you start
tunes
knowing
in the app as well you can do.
Yeah.
So
that's why I want to try it. Like they were claiming some pretty crazy stuff where they were saying it'll be open as you enter a corner, but as your bike pitches up and you exit the corner, it'll stiffen up so you can like pump out of it and carry more speed, like mid corner, which is like seems like a wild claim to me, and kind of mess up your kind of feeling and your flow of riding, right? Especially downhill stuff. But again, if it's being developed by these guys who are the best in the world and winning races, it's got to be good. So
Yeah.
you can also just like,
You have some faith, my friend.
I do
Yeah.
have some faith, but you
Oh, it is Fox.
there's
so
also
I do
like a
too.
ton of different tunes in the app that you can put on.
Yeah.
So you can have it more like oriented to like staying open instead of staying closed, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's just a ton of different tunes you can do with it. And so you can like share tunes as well, or download tunes from other riders or top riders and stuff. So that stuff's
Wow.
kind of cool to me.
Buy my tunes.
Buy my tunes.
Only tunes.
Patented tunes. Speaking of tunes,
And now, a word from our sponsors.
pardon the interruption, Jeff again. I just wanted to say thank you for listening and thank you for shopping with Worldwide Cyclery, Kettle Mountain, and Trail One. If you ever shop with us, you are supporting a small group of individuals who are passionate about what we're doing and trying really hard to create good customer experiences and make fantastic products. And we appreciate that and appreciate you and supporting us. That's all I got.
And now, back to the show.
Listener questions. I'm going to read this one off because guess who it's for, Liam?
You.
It's for you.
Oh, okay.
First word is Liam. I'm talking to you. That's what this guy writes. Liam, I'm talking to you. What are your main tips on how to build stupid strong wheels, and what brands do you recommend? I'm 6'2", 200 pounds, and run Cushcore with DH casing. Looking for a dependable wheel set for seasons of rough DH riding. P.S. Please make a detailed wheel building video if you love me. Cheers, boys. Love the pod.
You didn't even leave your name. How am I supposed to know who you are, man?
Hopefully he listens to this because
Yeah.
it's a good question.
Well, there's kind of two ways. I would prefer to go alloy, but I don't know if I'd say alloy is for seasons, plural. I'd say alloy would get you through like a very solid season of DH racing, as long as you're, like minus a massive case or, a big catastrophic
dings.
error, right?
Yeah.
And then
Kind of a
that
tricky question.
it
'Cause, like,
is because,
alloy's good, but you got to replace the rim here and there.
but it's also only $150 to replace.
Exactly.
So I would personally go DT Swiss 350 hub, DT Swiss competition spokes, and DT Swiss 541 rim, EX 541. That would be the strongest wheel. A lot of the wheel,
That's basically the setup that Aaron Gwynn rode like the entire Leo Gang track on when that tire fell off, right?
not the 541.
Almost.
I
Was-
believe he was on the 511.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, they've
Couldn't
since
remember.
came out with a stronger one, because that was like 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
They've came out with a stronger one with a wider rim lip called the 541. Same profile as the 511. It just literally has more material and bigger rim lip, so you don't pinch as easy. But a lot of the wheel strength comes to spoke tension and keeping up on your spoke tension.
Yeah.
Like rims,
Maintaining it well.
rims are not that strong actually, just on their own, right? So a lot of that comes to maintaining your wheel, after a couple of days of bike park, taking off, making sure it's brought back up to tension and there's even tension. That's another big part.
Bing,
It's like
bing, bing.
even tension, like your wheel doesn't actually have to be that straight for mountain bike, but if the tension's perfectly even, it's never going to not never, but it'll stay that way for a lot longer.
So you'd sacrifice a little bit of wobbling in the chewing process in order to get more even tension across all the spokes.
Correct. Especially on the rear, especially for a bike park bike.
Do you
Like,
agree with that, Trevor?
I agree 100%. Because if you have a loose spoke, all that force is going to go straight to that loose spoke, and all those other spokes they don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a puzzle. So like you're only as strong as your weakest link,
And
right?
yeah, just make sure when it's first built up that tension is even and strong, and like Liam said, retension it after like a couple rides because it's going to lose a bunch of tension. And I also agree with Liam's choice of wheel almost exactly. I would say if you wanted to just buy a wheel and not have anyone build it up for you, the FR 1500 wheel set from DT Swiss comes like that, but it's a 240 hub instead of a 350. So arguably as good. It's pretty much the same thing, but just in a complete package.
Yeah,
ready
then you
to
can
go.
just buy a complete.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I run those rims myself and push them pretty hard, and they're great.
Yeah.
Couldn't recommend them enough for downhill riding, e-bike riding, aggressive enduro riding, and
Yep.
yeah.
I'm going to put that same wheel set. Well, I have 240 hubs, but I'm going to put that same setup with 240 DEGs on my frameworks. So
Just from like a mechanics perspective too, like I haven't really seen a failed 350 hub.
no,
Like from the Star Ratchets style, like EXP is pretty good too. It had a couple little flaws at first, but it's good now. And it's really hard to break one of those DT Swiss wheels, especially the FR 541. If you're doing everything conventionally right and your tire pressure is relatively okay and all that stuff, then it's going to be so good.
You can even tell building them up just how like quality the rim builds. Like when you build a different rim sometimes, like it takes so much more work to get it straight and even tension. Like the DTs are like a pleasure to build. They just pull right into tension.
It is weird how long they've held that crown too.
Yeah.
It's like decades that no one's made a better rim than
I know.
TT
It's
Swiss.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, carbon, there's a lot of options. Reserve's obviously pretty strong, burly, maybe not the most ride compliant, but they've got a great warranty.
Reserves are pretty bomb proof as well.
Yeah.
And the warranty is good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why you see like your top like level World Cup and enduro riders ride certain products is because they work. You know, at the end of the day, like they just need something that's going to get them down the hill and not explode.
Yeah, DT Swiss doesn't really actually sponsor any World Cup teams or enduro teams. I think they might sponsor the Yeti team, but like the Specialized team buys DT or DT supplies free product, but they don't pay them to run their product.
Yeah.
So
that says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and then you look at people who've been in the scene a long time. I mean, Nico's a good example. He's actively pursuing and trying to get all of his sponsors the stuff that he knows is the best.
Yeah.
And because he needs it and cares about it the most.
Yeah, he'll take a sacrifice on how much money they're paying him to run a better product that he prefers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Strong wheel advice.
Mr. Guy.
Mr. No Name Guy.
Now on like a slightly similar concept, but instead of wheels, it's tires. But the question is, if you're going to ride some fast, flowy, and technical single track, would you choose a downcountry bike with enduro tires, so enduro casing tires and knobs, or an enduro bike with downcountry tires, so like a lighter casing, faster rolling XC style tire?
I'd 100% go downcountry bike enduro tires.
Feels kind of weird to ride a bike, like a enduro bike. Like you want to like either overdo your tires or have them equal.
Exactly.
You never want to like underdo them.
Exactly.
Feels very weird to do that.
That's what I was going to say.
Riding an enduro bike with like XC tires does not make sense.
Yeah.
It sounds like
wearing
it sounds like a
shoes that are
front
3
wheel.
sizes too small.
Yeah, it sounds like a front wheel just waiting to fold on you.
Yeah.
Like the tire just going to fold and you're going to get pitched.
I sort of had that scenario with my 140 this year at Downeyville. I had
because you put pretty light tires on.
Light tires and light wheel set, and I was okay for me. It took a second at first to get used to. It was a lot of drifting and wheel flex and stuff like that. I think the suspension wanted me to go faster than the tires were allowing me to, which was kind of a problem. I think like the opposite case would be just a little bit better for the actual use case, you know?
Yeah.
If you had a preference, you would have gone the other way.
I think so.
You would have done downcountry bike heavier tires.
I think so. Yeah. And I've ridden those kind of setups before, and I really enjoy that. I really like having a really soft, tacky, knobby front tire and a really fast rolling rear tire, and it carries so much speed, and you have grip, so you have confidence too. You're not like washing out everywhere, feeling sketchy and stuff. So I preferred, downcountry bike with quote unquote enduro tires.
Yep.
Still like pretty light, but maybe a little bit more knob in the front tire.
Yeah, it's just not the right place to cut weight. Like if you have an enduro bike and you're trying to make it lighter and more pedal friendly, putting like super lightweight tires on it is not the right place to do that.
Yeah.
You're just going to get into trouble.
It just doesn't feel balanced. Like I tried to do that even with that Banshee Titan, which I didn't go too far. I just didn't have what's on there now.
You have EXO Plus front and rear.
Yeah. But before I had, which is Max Grip, the Assegai, and then before I just had like an EXO
Max Terra up front. Yeah.
Even that, like I didn't think that was pushing it that far because it was still a 2.4 tire, but it was just that bike felt instantly so much better and proper when I put a proper tire on it with correct casing.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, always either have your tires be equal to your bike or more, and never less.
I agree.
Yep.
All right. Hey guys, love the show. First time question here. I have a 2018 Niner Jet 9 RDO and plan to keep it for a few more years. When should I replace the suspension pivots? They're 6 years old, but still smooth and no noise. Also, is a $300 upgrade from the Fit 4 damper to the Grip X damper on my Fox Factory 34 worth it? I usually just set my suspension and forget it, so wondering if the new damper would make a noticeable difference. Thanks, Scott from Park City. Question one.
Yeah. Two-part question.
Tough question.
Yeah, I would say if you can take the pivot apart and you're feeling the bearings and they're smooth with no noise, there's no like notchiness, I would say just repack them. If it's not super notchy and stuff.
What's the best way to check that?
I mean,
Take your shock off and cycle the spin.
well, yeah. Or even I was saying like take the linkage apart and actually like get your fingers between the two bearings and really
and move
feel
it
how that
around,
actually is feeling without
The
any
quick and dirty way is take your shock off and cycle it up.
Yeah,
and down
you
and feel
still
if it's
won't really
smooth,
be
but
able to
you
feel-
still,
Yeah,
there's still
feel the
leverage.
bearings,
there's still leverage there. You want like no leverage, so just feel that if you feel that and it's smooth still, it shouldn't be like fast. It should be there should be a little bit of resistance there, but not notchy. And if there isn't, then just pack a little bit of grease in there. If it is notchy, then for sure replace them.
Yeah.
Yep. And second one, I think the Grip X is a pretty significant upgrade over the Fit 4. Just it uses a spring-backed IFP versus a bladder, and you just get a much smoother feeling fork. So if you're planning to keep it and it does backwards compatible work with your fork, I'm not 100% it does if it's a 2018 Fit 4. But yeah, I mean, the Fit 4 was I'd say they kind of ran that a few years longer than they probably should have on those forks.
I agree. Yeah, that was it was a very noticeable difference when they went away from that to the Grip X.
Yeah. So the Grip X is the newest fork or the newest damper, having just replaced what was the Grip 2. And yeah, it's a really, really good damper. So.
I also think if you're riding near Park City, the Grip X is perfect for that
as
whole
well.
entire area out there. Like I can't think of a better damper for that area.
Yep.
Well, I have my own question spawned off of this one. Can you put a Grip X in a 34 step cast?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the answer to that?
That's when I call Fox support.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not trying to.
I don't think
I'm curious. Like, I actually haven't ridden back to back that Grip X versus the Grip SL.
Yeah. I think they're more holding certain spec for certain forks because they don't want to like mix and match too much.
Yeah.
I think you could probably just get a normal 34 with a Grip X and shorten it to 120.
But then it's not as light as
But then it's not as light. Yeah.
That's a good question though. Because like I love doing stuff like that.
Maybe I'll submit that to podcast at Worldwide Cycling. You guys can answer it on the next episode.
I'll just give you, someone's email you can ask.
Yeah, call the experts on that. That's funny. Every time I find some obscure bike company doing something cool, I see that Liam is already following them on Instagram. Are there any interesting but unknown companies y'all want to give a shout out to?
So it's so funny because when I read that, I laughed because I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, oh, I should show this to... Oh, no, he's already following them.
Yeah, I mean...
The man's doing his job.
Yeah, it is part of my job.
Man is on Instagram, snooping.
It's part of my job. Unknown, interesting but unknown companies. First one comes to mind is Lewis Bike Brakes. They are making some brakes that look like really fancy and some others on the market, but they happen to work really, really well. I've been running them for like a month now and quite impressed with them.
Have you been liking those?
Yeah, for one bleed. To be honest, like I'm still getting used to how powerful they hit at first.
And the lever feels like nothing.
It's so light. It's the lightest lever feel I think I've ever felt.
Yeah, was that weird to get used to?
A little bit, yeah.
Like, do you feel like you know when it's going to bite?
I'm getting used to it, but even when I still hop on it at first, like what did Tideman and I do? I think we did Jedvarts kind of right off the bat, and I had like 2 front wheel tucks almost, which is super
stabbing the front brake.
Yeah, super loose, stabbing front brake on kind of a steep trail. It's like I'm basically under biking that trail.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you got to be gentle with that left finger.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff coming at you really fast.
What size rotor?
180s right now.
Oh, and it's still that
powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they sent me 200s, but I've just been running the SRAM HS2s 180s with them, and they feel great.
What pads does that come stock with?
I don't even know. I haven't checked. Yeah.
Interesting.
Just slapped them on and started trying them.
Well, speaking of brakes and, well, not a small brand, but small in the mountain bike scene, I've been riding those Galfer pads and rotors, and ever since I put those on my Revel Ranger, I was like, wow, these work way better than the stock SRAM stuff. And now I have it on the ASR, and it worked amazing. Love those things.
What do you think feels better with this SRAM stuff?
It just seems it's more powerful, and then it's more consistent.
And what compound are you using? What pad material is it? Do you know what color it is?
The Galfer's Green Pro, I believe.
It's the Pro one, yeah.
But that to that point, I don't know what he was running in his previous brakes. It could have been power organic, which I don't actually like that much from SRAM. I just prefer to put sintered in every single brake I have from SRAM.
Yeah.
Or metallic, whatever they call it, sintered metallic.
If you, for the sintered pads, if you have like a super good surface, like with friction on there, it stops so well.
Yeah.
Like it's super good. But if the moment that gets burnt or glazed, and like forget about it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
It might be easier to burn or glaze, but I just have so much better brake feel with sintered and metallic than I do with organic or power organic or resin or whatever.
The organic comes stock, doesn't it?
Power organic, I believe, comes stock now on everything but Code might come with sintered, but now even Maven's coming with organic because they're so powerful with sintered.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting move. But the organic ones have a crazy bite to them though, on the Mavens especially. Like it's insane actually. You could hit the front brake on an e-bike and you're just going to do a nose wheelie instantly. It's almost like too much. When I was testing out the Mavens, I changed the sintered pads because it didn't have as much of a bite, but they wouldn't get so over like a long run, they would feel the same, I guess. I also think that the organics just wear out way too fast as well.
Yeah, the sintereds last stupid long.
I was pretty nervous
a full season
going into Whistler with my brake pads. I'm running the sintered pads on my Codes on my 140, and I was pretty nervous. I was like, I'll bring an extra set of brake pads just in case. And I couldn't even tell a difference on how many runs we did there over 3 days. I couldn't tell a difference in the wear from that, which is, I think, pretty incredible. So
it is cool to see the brake scene just have a lot more players.
Yeah.
Because Trick Stuff, that's another crazy boutique
a lot more
brand.
Good players too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, speaking of these brands, what we just found on Pink Bike today is a brand you don't follow. HEL Performance.
HEL Performance. They're like automotive though.
Yeah, I know. I saw this on Pink Bike, and it kind of looks like the Lewis brake. Yeah. Crazy CNC raw aluminum. But it seems to be their very first mountain bike product.
Yep.
Machine in the UK, and then their Instagram has 17,000 followers, and there's not a single photo of a mountain bike on here. It's just like all automotive and dirt bike stuff.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
But kind of cool. I mean, it makes sense that people in the automotive scene would get into the mountain bike scene and immediately go for brakes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they're good at it, right? Like, I'm sure Willwood could make some pretty crazy mountain bike brakes.
That would be rad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
Other brand, it's probably actually pretty unknown, I think, but Garbrook is cool. Small brand.
Oh, yeah. Garbrook.
Both of those are some brands I'm working on bringing.
Thor Ragnarok. That's all I can think of when I hear that name.
Right?
Garbrook. Thor Ragnarok.
What is Garbrook?
Garbrook is like a small chainring cassette brand. That's mostly what they make. I think they make cranks now too. Machine stuff. I believe they're from Poland or Germany. I don't know. But yeah, they make cool stuff. Kind of like drivetrain stuff that Jeff likes, like odd cassette sizes, and they still make 11-speed cassettes that are like, a 1048 or something like that.
Nice. That's cool.
But yeah, so Lewis and those are two brands that I've been trying stuff, and we'll probably get them on the site over the next few months. I mean, it's kind of off season
cool stuff. What was the cassette? Was it the Garbrook cassette or the Leonardi cassette that got? It was a Leonardi one that got stuck on my free hub.
That one was crazy.
It was a rad cassette, but
if anyone
went on and never came off.
Leonardi is listening to this, I don't know how to get your cassette off.
Same.
And I've looked at videos and looked at every forum.
Is it a matter of knowing how to get it off, or the fact that it's just frozen on?
Well, there's no purchase on the.
There's no tool
on the splines to get to unscrew it off. There's nothing there to like.
Yeah, there's like
there is, but like it's like a millimeter long.
Yeah, there's no tools. The video has like a different tooling interface on it. Like it is like we have a V2 cassette, and they had a video for like a V1. And like forums all say the same thing. So if anyone knows how to get that off, or knows Leonardi or someone, like I have a useless wheel, right?
The
Leonardi
it's still
cassette.
Just hanging around right now.
Leonardi cassette stuck on them.
Yeah, I think I just bought a new free hub body and like put that cassette and free hub body somewhere else.
Imagine if that was on a free hub that doesn't just pop off.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare.
Did we look at the weight difference between that E13 cassette and the Garbrook cassette?
No.
I'm curious which one was lighter. Because they make very competing cassettes, like 11-speed wide-range cassettes that have a 9-tooth.
I don't know if the Garbrook has a 9.
Oh, it might have a 10.
It might have a 10.
I just looked at their About Us page, and they're actually from Kiev, Ukraine. With recent relocation to Krakow, Poland in 2019.
Okay.
They probably had to relocate.
Yes. I'd assume so.
Yeah,
Damn.
crazy. But yeah, that is a cool small brand to pay attention to, which is pretty rad. All right, next question.
Next question. What's the best way to store tools / tube in / or on your enduro bike? One Up, Wolf Tooth, BOA. This is basically for a bike without a fancy storage compartment.
You're not going to read the last part of the question?
No hole left unstuffed. So
Why is that?
he's basically saying like bikes with like a swap box or a
Yeah.
little under compartment or something like that. How do you, for a bike that doesn't have that, how do you store it on the bike?
Well, my take on that recently, I've been pretty stoked on, is that Occam strap with the BOA. That thing is so nice. You use that same thing too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I use
all of us
that.
do.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
do. So does Jared.
If I don't have a bike with the accessory mounts to use, like the Wolf Tooth or the Day Saver kit, because that I think is the cleanest way, then I use the Occam strap with the BOA dial, which we have a custom worldwide one. That looks
Yeah,
really
we
cool.
do. $26 and it's got our
$26
logo on it. And yeah, because we like that thing so much. Would you contact them and got that thing set up? But
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
yeah, and we saw all the other colors on the site too. But yeah, that thing is so well thought out because it's not just a
It's
strap.
just simple though, too.
Yeah, but it has those two internal straps, so you can switch it from bike to bike without undoing all the stuff. And then those two little internal straps that hold the stuff to the main strap have those little rubber things which touch the frame, so it doesn't damage the frame. That's just really well designed and simple, and like I can't believe how hard you can crank that down,
You
and
can
how many
crank
times
it.
I've like undone it, redone it, redone it, moved it from this bike to that bike, and it's still
No
just
issues.
perfect. I was like,
And then
this is a good product.
another little tip to go along with the Occam strap is our Trail One stems come with a little bag. The bag is perfect size to reuse to put your tube, tire plugs, zip ties, rubber bands, whatever you want to put in there,
Duct
tire
tape.
boots, duct tape, and then you can, wrap it up and then put it in the Occam strap, in the two little straps, and then put that on your bike. And then it keeps it all clean
Yeah.
together, and you can put little bits in there, like that might maybe be falling around, even chain links, right? You can just drop
Yeah.
chain links in the bag because it's going to be kind of closed. So
Honestly, that's a big thing because if you do have that strap on your bike for a long time and it gets exposed to the elements, stuff starts kind of rubbing and you're going to
yeah.
get abrasions and you're going to have a tube that has a hole in it
Yep.
and that's a bad day.
Yeah.
So Liam has that and it's pretty clean.
yeah,
Yep. Yeah, if you want to see what that looks like, that recent YouTube video about my Yeti ASR, I have that set up on there. And what I had in there, which is surprisingly compact, but I have a lot of stuff in there because I had it set up for the adventure race. I have a Lezyne pump, a Dynaplug, also a Lezyne bacon poker with a bunch of bacon in there, Park Tool tire boots, 2 Tubalitos, and the Day Saver in the little case, Day Saver multi-tool that has a Master Link connected in it. All of that is like all tucked and compact and like right in that thing, which I used actually a lot during that
Did
race,
you?
having to pull that tool out because we had to disassemble our bikes a ton, like putting them
I was
on
gonna
the
say,
rafts.
I thought you didn't have to use them at all.
Yeah, well, dude, the amount of times. So we had to disassemble the bikes to put them onto the pack rafts, and then obviously rebuild them. Then we also had to put the rafts on the bikes and like strap them to the bikes, and then we had to do that. And then there was a couple stages where we had to break the bikes down, put them in the bike box at the transition, and then we would go on foot for 20, 30 hours, and at the next TA, the bike boxes would be there, and we'd rebuild the bikes. So yeah, so I use that tool a lot.
Wow.
And of course, a lot of other people, it was funny enough, at that race, a lot of people like couldn't get their pedals off. Like other teams, like, do you guys happen to have like a properly sized 8mm Allen? Because like they couldn't get their pedals off with their multi-tool. I was like, you didn't think of this before? And I was like, yep,
Yeah, that's
I got
fair.
one. Yeah,
They don't know.
I know. Because people just think like, oh yeah, I got a multi-tool. I'll use that to disassemble my bike to put it on this raft. And
not,
they get there and like,
you
it's,
know,
you
bike
don't have the
mechanics.
leverage. Yeah.
like you were a bike mechanic,
So,
you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I've been at a trailhead before where I forgot my my clip shoes, and so but I had flat pedals in my truck, and so I was like, oh, I'll wear my Vans that I'm wearing, right? Just gotta take my pedals off, and I had a multi-tool, and my pedal was so tight on there, I
Yeah.
couldn't get it off with a multi-tool, and I was like so frustrated about that because the tool's in my hand, like I got one more step to go before I can make this happen, and couldn't make it happen.
Another issue that I've ran into was T-type derailleur was slightly misaligned.
Yeah.
So we're going to reset it.
Yeah.
But we only had a multi-tool, and it didn't have enough torque to loosen the T-type derailleur.
I've done that. I've had
Oh, yeah, that's
before.
right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 35 newton meters. It's pretty tight.
Pretty on there.
Yeah, that is
And
crazy.
it's kind of like clamped against the frame as well. So it's on there.
Yeah. That's what's nice about that day saver, because that 8 is like, the size of your index finger. So it's big enough. It's not huge, but it's way bigger than normal multi-tools. But it's big enough that, like, if you can't do it with that amount of leverage in your hand, you can put your foot on it, which I don't recommend. But in worst case scenario, it's big enough that you can put your foot on it. Whereas like a normal multi-tool, you couldn't really.
And it's just solid too.
Yeah, it's just a solid tool. Yeah, it doesn't have a hinge on it like one of those other ones would have. Well, next question. Why do so many people hate on upside down forks when they haven't even ridden one? Well, people hate on a lot of things they've never tried, and that's part of the internet. I don't know if there's that much hate on them. They're always like kind of.
I mean, I think the pink bike comments get filled up pretty quick, but they deal with
like,
everything.
All that is just a disaster of shit talking.
People who just don't spend money anyways.
I guess like the prime examples are like a DVO fork or like a Manitou Dorado or something like that. It's a little bit on the heavier side.
Or even like that RockShox RS1 that they made for a few years.
Yeah. I've ridden that fork before.
I mean, I think the biggest problem with them is the specs never pan out. So like when you talk about how much it weighs for how much travel it has, like that never is competitive to a non-inverted fork.
Because they have to overbuild them because they don't have a crown holding the two together. So you kind of have to overbuild it to create the stiffness you want. And by doing so, you now have a heavier fork than kind of what is a traditional mountain bike fork. But
yeah, and I guess like on your intense suspension, like having the stanchions like exposed to the elements like that.
Yeah. Dude, everyone says that.
Is not super ideal because, how many times do you go in between a little rock gap and you do not want to hit your fork against the gap. And most of the time you don't, but there's way bigger consequences to that, and like it's all in all motocross bikes, but there's a big heavy ash guard in the way.
Shroud.
It doesn't matter because you're on a dirt bike, the weight does matter on a mountain bike a little bit. So it's interesting.
They do make some covers for the N10 now, but
they do. Yeah, that are carbon, but it is still weight. Yeah, I mean, I've been riding that N10 Edge fork all for 2 years now on that Banshee, and I freaking love that thing.
Yeah.
And I've crashed that bike a couple times, but never damaged the stanchions. There's no fork guards on it. And yeah, people always comment. They're like, well, fork's crazy. Like, you're going to damage the stanchions. And it's like, I haven't yet, so I'm not worried about it.
There you go.
It's like, whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I think that thing works really good. But yeah, I mean, as far as specs go, it is like, I guess that thing's close to the weight of a 38, a Fox 38.
36.
But it's like 36 level travel because it's like 160. So like, if you compared it to a 36, it'd be a little bit heavier. I don't know. You'd have to test to see if it was any flexier or not.
Yeah, the advantage
doesn't really feel like it.
Just like your seals are always being kind of lubricated.
Yeah, there's a ton of advantages. It's fundamentally a better design, which is why it's on every single motorcycle. But when you factor in weight, that's where the whole equation goes south. So, but maybe it'll happen as things get better because like that N10 fork is amazing. I'm curious to have you guys ridden the push one yet or seen it in real life?
I saw it at Sea Otter, but they wouldn't even let people like push on it then.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Prototype phase.
So
I don't know.
That one goes even further because that's a coil upside down fork. That thing is like $2,800 and like a pound heavier than a 38.
Yeah,
I watched some videos on it.
That's another part where the specs don't play out. Weight and price.
Yeah, I watched a video on that, and there's a lot of like pretty bold claims, and push kind of goes crazy with that stuff sometimes. So I'm sure it's actually probably good, but is it worth the price and the weight? And you got to factor in all those things.
I would actually like to try one of N10's downcountry forks.
Is it inverted?
Sick, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be into that.
Could try it.
Yeah.
Well, last question, and the most
one.
intense, serious one. Boxers, briefs, or commando? Bibs, shorts, or raw dog? I don't really know if this is an actual question or not.
Is it two questions?
Yeah. There's two question marks.
For one's for riding and one's for every day.
Yeah, one's chill and one's for riding. Well, I go commando.
On the casual.
On the casual.
Yeah.
Likewise.
And then you go bibs on the bike.
Always.
Always bib.
Always bibs.
And I have friends that go not raw dog, but they'll wear like boxer briefs or like compression underwear, and they swear by that. But I don't know, I can't do that, and I really just dislike saddle sores, so I tend to get saddle sores if I do that.
I really dislike saddle sores.
It's horrible.
And it's just uncomfortable.
Well, I disagree. Well, I wear boxer briefs on the casual, and then I often wear boxer briefs on the bike unless I'm doing more than 20 miles. If it's like a big ride over 20 miles, I'll always wear a bib. Or a chamois short. Or if I'm riding like multiple days in a row. Like if I'm going to do like 3, 4, 5 days of riding in a row, like a Chasing Epic trip, and that each ride is like close to 20 miles, then I'll run bibs or chamois short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I've just had trips or rides that have just been not as fun as they could have been because I was dealing with the saddle sore the whole time.
Yeah.
And you're just like off the side of your saddle, and that's just no fun. Didn't you say you had a saddle sore on your trip?
Yeah.
On your adventure race?
Yeah, that was a whole different
Didn't
problem.
you get a saddle sore from correcting from a different issue?
Yeah, from a different. Well, so what happened at one point in the race, my left knee just sort of froze up, and like the outer side of it was just becoming excruciating. Like every pedal stroke. This was 68 hours into the race. I remember because I was like looking at my watch, thinking like, this is how long I'm going to make it. And I'm toast. I can't go any further. I remember like looking at my watch, like 68 hours.
Like you've already invested so much time in it.
Yeah. And my knee just like for some reason just started getting so painful, and I could barely pedal with it. And then I was pedaling with one foot, and then we were just like taking a break to try and figure it out. Couldn't do it. Took another break. And then Greg, my teammate, was like, he's like, maybe it has something to do with your IT band. And he's like, we're laying on the side of the road, and it's gravel road, and he's like elbowing my glute. And he like hit some spot as I was bending my knee. I was like, oh my God, it stopped. It like released to the pain. And I think my IT band somewhere towards my glute just froze up so bad from just overuse that it was yanking on like the whole side of my knee and causing this like really bad pain. And if he pushed on that, it would like lengthen it and then totally release the pain in my knee. So he massaged it a little bit. I got back on the bike, and I literally could only ride the bike if I was unclipped on my toe, because like for whatever reason it would hurt my knee too bad to go like where my clip was. And if I had my left thumb like jammed into my glute, like I was like on the fly, like smashing my hand in there as hard as I could, and then it didn't hurt. And so I just rode basically unclipped on the left side with my one hand smashing into the glute just so I could do that. And I had to like shift my whole butt to the right on my saddle. And I rode like 60 miles like that, and while also taking ibuprofen. And this is just like the stuff you do and deal with during those races. Like I thought the race was over, my knee hurt that bad, and like it wasn't getting better. And then that was it. And then as long as I took ibuprofen and kept massaging it, I could continue on. And then it got to the point where like I could stop massaging it for like a minute, and then I'd do it again. And then I could do it for like 5 minutes, and then I'd have to massage again. And so like I just dealt with that for the rest of the race.
It didn't like go away?
Not really. No, it didn't go away. And then we had a huge leg on foot, like 48 hours on foot, doing this huge orienteering course. And then we got back on the bike after that, and I had just the most wicked blister and saddle sore in the weirdest spot because I was riding with one foot clipped in, slid to the right on the saddle, and it's just a disaster. But it's just like the pain and the shenanigans you deal with on these things.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm glad I had a chamois, but it like defeats the purpose if you're riding unclipped on one foot and slid over on your saddle. So yeah, just weird pain you deal with in long-term events like that. But well,
good job.
That's it.
I'm glad you're back here.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Glad you survived.
Yeah, me too. It was a good time. Well, that's it. That's all. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. It does the world of difference if you leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and share this with your mountain biker friends. We have the top rated mountain bike podcast right now. We're pretty proud of that. We want to keep it that way.
In the world?
I guess. I mean, there's not that many of them, so I think we do. We're like neck and neck with Pink Bike, like right around the like 1,000 plushest
That's
reviews.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And a lot of people like leave us a review and we're like, this is way better than the Pink Bike podcast. So that's cool. Thank you.
They said it, not us.
Yeah, exactly. But if you could leave us a review, that really helps us out. And we will talk to you guys in a couple weeks. Cheerio.
Love ya.
Peace.